Hey guys, I'm doing this by myself. I debated whether to do this. I prayed about it. After the first one, maybe God needed me to pray, but I made one and the sound didn't come out, and it was really powerful. I mean, I just could feel the anointing. So I'm going to say it again. This is what I believe God showed me about what we're going through right now. I went to bed election night pretty late, or I guess midnight. It's just so happy, and just knew that it was just a landslide, as I'd been saying. I'd been saying to our people that I felt like America was fixing to go into the most prosperous time of its history. I'd been feeling that, and then this happened. So I come to the church the next day, Wednesday morning, and we don't have church Wednesday. We have it Tuesdays and Thursdays. But I spent all day Wednesday out here and all day Thursday, and I was praying, and I was just reminded that, how Moses talked to God up on the mountain when God had brought Israel out of Egypt, out of bondage, kind of like what had been happening here. We were coming out of bondage and things were beginning to happen. But on the mountain, the rebellion that happened, and God was going to abort his mission. And Moses said to God, God, these are your people. If you abort this mission, what's the enemy going to say? That there is no God, that God's not able to deliver his people. And I really felt strong about praying that to God. I was talking with him, and nothing, I think it maybe was an hour or two after that this confidence of freshness come over me, and he gave me this, I know that it was him that showed me this. I had not thought about this story in I don't know how long, and I don't know that I've ever taught on it. But God showed me that in Israel's days, the time that they were the most prosperous they've ever been, ever since and ever have been, and it was actually the time that Israel had pretty much almost taken all of the land that God had given them. The only time in history that it's ever been that way. It says silver was as gravel on the streets. And so that was a prosperous time. We know the downfall of that. Solomon's son really destroyed it, but Solomon started a wayward person. But now let's get off of that. I just read this story again of 1 Kings and 2 Kings. I encourage you to go read it. 1 Kings 1 and 2. Wow, the parallels. So God gave me this story. Right before King David, the rightful heir, was about to die and give the throne to Solomon, Adonijah, which was the second born of David, we know Ammon was killed, which was the firstborn, by Absalom, and he was the second born. I believe Absalom was the third born. So he felt himself entitled to take the throne. And he called a special secret meeting together, and he called all, and let me back up and say this. In those days, the leadership, the government was basically in the priesthood and in the military and some leaders under king. But that was just how it was, basically the military and the priesthood and the king. Well, Adonijah called all of the leaders, the military leaders, the priesthood leaders, and all of the leaders of Israel together, and had a secret meeting to appoint himself as king, that he was rightful for it. And they went as far as to go to the press of Engedi, I believe it was, where they sacrificed. But here's the thing: Zadok the high priest, and Benaniah under him, and Nathan the prophet. The prophets were powerful in them days, and a few others, and it makes a point that and the bodyguards of King David refused to go. And so they go to this place, and they pretty much have an inaugural. He invited all the other king's sons. They had all there behind this crooked anointing, and they were pretty much inaugurating him in and about to march him into town, which would have been the news media. Clear the way. Here's our new king, and that's when it would have been public. And it got wind of that. Nathan brought that attention to Bathsheba, and she got it to King David. And he set in motion the way to actually inaugurate Solomon and make it permanent. Not talking about that too much. Here's what I want you to glean out of that. Right right before Israel went into the most prosperous time of their history, when Solomon was about to take the rightful throne from the rightful king, a military coup happened. A priesthood coup happened. And David, in his wisdom, allowed Solomon to see who the traitors were, who was going to be rebellious in his entire kingship, who were going to seek to overthrow him constantly. In the priesthood, in the military, even in his own family, and in the leaders. And by doing this, it allowed him to see exactly what needed to be done, and he needed to be eliminated. And he did that. And I'm just thinking, I saw a newscast of Donald Trump some 25 years ago, and they asked him what was the one thing that bothered him the most. And it was said that the people that were disloyal to him after he had, given them so much opportunity. And he said, he made this comment in that statement. He said, I almost would just be willing to lose everything to just see who was loyal to me. Well, boy, that's going through right now. God put Trump in to drain this swamp, and he is sucking it all out. They will be thorns in our side forever if we don't deal with this right now and eliminate it. And it's not just the nation, it is the world swamp. And God is going on a big, big, big drainage mission here. And don't get fearful, because Solomon, Adonijah, was having his inauguration party on his way in when this thing got twarped. God is the rightful king to anoint the rightful king. It is God that raises up and sets down, and this is God's man. And he's going to anoint him, and he's going to put him on his white mule, and he's going to parade him through, and he's going to make a mockery out of all of the fake news. I think he's bringing all of them down. But we're having to go through these periods for that. I don't have the duck bunks I had on the first message I made of this, but I really hope that this blesses you and you can see the parallels. And I challenge you to go read the stories in there. You can just see so plainly what's going on right now. If I'm wrong about this, I'll certainly admit it. But I believe I'm right. God bless you, and I hope it encourages you.